Get the cream, precious metals or the crypto things. Your bars are light like the one that's on a Smith machine. But my Maxwell and I ain't speaking about the pretty.
Let's just get into why everyone is here. So Becky Lynch was on a podcast and she was asked whether AEW's women's division motivates her to be better. And she says, so I wish I could say yes, but unfortunately, I don't think they're represented the way that we are. They don't get as much time as we get, and frankly, they're not as good as we are. Certainly on Raw, we have the best women's division in the world. I say that without any hesitation in my voice. We have the best women's division in the world. Competition is great, and it's great for there to be another place, and I have a very good friend in Ruby Soho over there. I would love to see her as a champion one day. I would love to see her getting the spotlight that she deserves. Competition is always great, but over here, we are on another level right now. Man, we are on another level. Now, some people think that she was in character when she said this. Other people don't think so. I don't think it matters, to be quite honest. We're arguing about women's wrestling now. Okay, so for me, what I've seen from, we're going to get into the tears flowing. Tears were shed, of course. And we're going to get into that. But I'm just going to say, to just kind of get started, the argument that is in favor of the women's division of AEW, let's just play devil's advocate a little bit. What does AEW do better? And I say one thing they do better is they give the women more in-ring time. I'm talking about on the weekly shows. WWE features more women in an episode of Raw or SmackDown, but they don't have the same amount of ring time. While a women's match on AEW will maybe 10 to 15 minutes, a women's match on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown might only be 3 or 4 minutes. But in that show, there'll be more character stuff for the girls. There'll be more angles for them to do. There'll be longer promos. They'll expose their characters a lot more. And they actually have characters, which is a big piece of the puzzle here. Because when you're talking about women's wrestling, you're talking about any wrestling. People typically default to the in-ring stuff. What do you do between the ropes? And WWE de-emphasizes what you do in between the ropes. They simply do not care that much about work rate. I mean, this argument to me is silly when WWE openly doesn't give a shit about work rate. So who cares if your matches are 15 to 20 minutes, especially if you have a 10-minute match and it's not good, or people are bored by it and nobody cares about it. Sure, you can have a 10-minute match, but if nobody cares, then nobody cares. So I think that's the positive for AEW's women's division. And this is being recorded for posterity. Who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks. This is being recorded before the Hikaru Shida, Serena Deeb street fight, whatever, which I'm sure will include blood. And people will say it's the best women's match of the week or best women's match of the year, best women's match of all time, or whatever the case may be. Because that's kind of how AEW pads their women's division. Is they'll just, pour blood on it, and then all of a sudden, it's better. It's the best. Even though, it's literally nothing special. Now, if you look at star power, then WWE blows AEW out of the water in terms of star power. There just is no women's wrestling on AEW, period. Even if you count the under shows of like Ring of Honor and Dark Elevation, there are 0 women stars on AEW. 0. That includes Britt Baker. That includes Jade Cargill. There are 0 women stars. I'm talking about you show somebody a picture of them, they will know who they are. All right? In WWE, there's probably 3 or 4. And that's more than enough. That's more than it was 10 years ago. All right? In 2012, you might have been able to show somebody a picture of any women's wrestler that was on the roster. They probably wouldn't have any earthly idea who these people were. But now you have at least Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch and Charlotte and Ronda Rousey are at least 4 people that if you show somebody who at least have some knowledge of wrestling, who those people are, they at least know who they are. They may not have watched Raw. They may not have watched WrestleMania or SummerSlam or anything like that, but at least they know who these people are. AEW has 0 women stars, and it has nothing to do with the in-ring product. It has everything to do with how they expose the characters. Meaning that only one person in AEW, period, has any real character work, and that's Britt Baker. And she doesn't really even have a character. Jade Cargill is developing a character. Let's put it like that. And that's about it. That's it for the entire AEW women's, 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours of TV, including Elevation and Dark, which I think are an hour apiece, plus an hour of Rampage. That's, 5 hours a week, thereabouts. And they cannot make a single woman star. Not one. Well, WWE fails to make women stars, they basically due to refusing to utilize the women properly. But when they do, they actually put some effort into it. They actually can get women over, like they did with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan isn't what I would refer to as a star, as far as everybody knows who she is. But when they put that effort into Liv Morgan and they got people behind her, that was a good exhibition to show people what WWE can really do for a fledgling wrestler of any gender, if they really wanted to. And they really got people believing Liv Morgan for like a couple of weeks. It was all for naught because she didn't win the title, but they got people behind her for a couple of weeks. And she remains over today because of it. While AEW will get a girl over, I can't even pick one, but most of them, if they get over, they're gone the next week. For instance, Thunder Rosa, they did a really good job of getting her over. That was I caught myself. They did a really good job of getting Thunder Rosa over. She had all these bloodbaths with Britt Baker that include thumbtacks and tables and all kinds of stuff. Then she wins, and then they put her in a closet, and that's it. She wins, and now how much time has she really had to develop her persona, to develop a personality, develop a character, to go out there and get over? None. Almost none. Oh, she had a 11-minute match at Battle of the Belts. It's like, who cares? Who cares? The average person, she's on national TV, and the average person has no idea who Thunder Rosa is. And if you watch wrestling, if you watch the show, you still won't know who Thunder Rosa is. Because she'll pop up, her promo will be 90 seconds, and then they're going to go on to something else. You would have learned nothing about Thunder Rosa. That's the difference in the booking styles of WWE and AEW. AEW emphasizes the in-ring stuff. WWE emphasizes the stuff outside the ring. So it has a greater opportunity to reach into pop culture when people are doing stuff outside the ring than if they do stuff that's in the ring. That's how Sasha Banks can be on The Mandalorian. And she can do Hot Ones. And she can do all this other stuff that she's been doing. That's how Charlotte can get on the cover of magazines. And Becky Lynch can be one of the top stars in the company. And, and one of the top women's wrestlers in the world. Mostly because of the stuff that they do outside the ring. The promos, the character stuff that they do. Not the matches. And to be quite honest, the women's matches in AEW aren't that good either. So let's finally get into the tiers. Because you've been waiting for the tiers. So let's get into the tiers. First tiers, we see almost immediately people talking about the Queen's Crown tournament. The Queen Crown's tournament featured a total of 21 minutes and 15 seconds of ring time, while AEW's TBS Championship tournament has already surpassed a whopping 61 minutes of ring time after the same amount of matches. And it produced absolutely 0 stars. 0. Oh, Jade Cargill, she's a star. And she's not. She's not. She has potential, but she's not a star. You had all that ring time, and then what? You would think that everybody would come out of the tournament better with all of that ring time, wouldn't they? Then everybody should have come out of that match, out of their match, better, with more ring time, more over. I don't even remember anything about this tournament other than Jade Cargill won it. I remember nothing about the Queen's Crown tournament other than Zelina Vega won it. And guess what? That's the same amount of stuff that I can remember from both tournaments, regardless of what they did in the ring. And both of them have won championships. Jade Cargill has gone on to be a singles champion. Zelina Vega was a tag team champion, and she was featured on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown more than Jade Cargill was featured since she won the TBS title. Jade Cargill has been essentially, I'm that bitch show every week or every other week. In terms of having matches, it's been mostly squash matches. No, very little development of her character or persona. So what did you really accomplish in your, quote, 61 minutes of ring time? What did you accomplish? Who did you get over? You didn't get anybody over, and people laughed at the main event. Let's see. Let's continue. It's all fun and games until people from WWE start talking, but let's not pretend like the top of WWE's women's division, Becky, Charlotte, Bianca, isn't running laps around the top of AEW's, Britt, Rosa, Jade. AEW's women can catch up. They just need TV ring time. No, they need more TV time, but they need more character work. Stop putting these people in the fucking ring. Stop thinking about the ring. Leave the ring alone. Ignore the ring. Shit. The last thing people care about is the fucking ring. See, Jade and Baker are the only ones who are given any real opportunity to stand out. Sheeta as champion was an afterthought and given thrown together feuds last minute. Jury is out on Rosa, but doesn't seem to have the same buzz she had pre-title win. That is also very true because they did the exact same thing they did to Thunder Rosa that they did to Hikaru Shida. Shida won the title. They basically just said, oh, hey, look at our champion. She comes out every once in a while, has long matches, wins, and goes back in the closet. Thunder Rosa, same thing. Let's see. DMD, Ruby Soho, Thunder Rosa, Riho, Toni Storm, Hikaru Shida, and Serena Deeb would beg to defer. Okay. But let's look at how many people on this list are actually stars and not just people you named. DMD, I guess that would be Britt Baker. She's not a star. She's not a crossover star. She's a wrestling star, I guess. You know, as far as the dirt sheets promote her as a star. So, okay, we'll give you that one. Ruby Soho, they didn't have her on TV for 4 months. There was literally, I think the AEW botches account or something like that was counting the weeks without Ruby Soho being on TV. Thunder Rosa, you could also put the clock on her when the last time she was on TV. Riho, I don't even remember where she is. Toni Storm has been on AEW for a month. She's had one match, 2 segments. One match on Dynamite, I should say. And she's had 2 segments where she had one promo, where only thing she said in the entire promo is, I will be wrestling you in a tournament. That's it. Tells you nothing about her. Didn't expose her at all, and the promo was all of 30 seconds. Hikaru Shida's been there since the beginning. She's had a lot of ring time. Not that much in terms of character. She's just kind of blandly competent babyface. Serena Deeb, they have done a good job of really working on the persona of Serena Deeb, but Serena Deeb is not a star. Sorry. She's the Dean Malenko of the women's division. The response to this features a lot of women from NXT and NXT UK. And I don't believe that we should be even using NXT and NXT UK. It's not necessary. They cannot fuck with the top levels of the WWE women's division, even if you give them more ring time. Sasha Banks is a bigger star than everybody in AEW, including most of the men. With the exception of like Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, and a couple of other guys, she's a bigger star than all of them. The entire fucking company, and she's female. You know, like, these things make no sense. It's a silly conversation to have. But, you know, we gotta have the conversation. Somebody else bringing up the Queen's Crown tournament again, which is really their only defense. You know, it's like they booked a lazy tournament, and AEW continues to book lazy women's tournaments too. Remember when they booked that one tournament, that women's tournament they had, what was that, when they gave those women those medallions? They won those medallions. Nobody remembered that shit because it was mostly on YouTube. Oh God. Somebody says, you can't possibly be serious. The top women in AEW, according to their rankings, are Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, Serena Deeb, Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir has had one televised match well, 2 televised matches her entire time in AEW. Both of them were ridiculed for being absolute garbage. Okay. Anna Jay. When was the last time Anna Jay wrestled on Dynamite or Rampage? I think the last time she wrestled on Rampage was in that bloodbath where the bunny cut herself. Jamie Hayter. The one who got no reaction to the AEW fan base, who supposedly know everybody. And Nyla Rose. Oh, Nyla Rose still in the top 5, huh? This is ridiculous. Did Khan imagine the push for the women's would be like how the men's has played out, especially with Japanese talent? Factions are having big announcements, but it's not happened that way. You're right. He hasn't had any big women's announcements, and he hasn't had any big women's signings either. Almost all of the women's signings, they dissolve in water. Ruby Soho was special for 2 weeks, and then she basically dissolved in water, and she became just like everybody else. Toni Storm was supposed to be a big deal. It was a good get because she essentially quit wrestling, and she become, you know, I heard she made like $30,000 to $40,000 on OnlyFans within a week or something like that. And then she comes on Dynamite. She has 1 match and then disappeared for 3 weeks. How can you capitalize on that? You didn't introduce her. She didn't say anything. She worked the match, won the match, but then disappeared for 3 weeks. Where was the momentum? Like, how is she supposed to become a star when that's what you do? You know, that's almost exactly what they did with WWE. They put her, you know, put her in the closet. She can't get over that way. It's pretty ridiculous, dog. Sheeta alone solos the entire WWE women's division. Baldy. Oh, God. It's so delusional. These people are so delusional. Jesus H. Christ. This stuff is delusional. Yes, Impact has a better women's division. Only because Impact actually gives a shit. And, you know, they can manage to carry 3 women's titles on 4 women's titles in Impact. They juggle 4 women's titles without you actually getting bored. Even though we can say that Impact does have sort of the same kind of matches too, you know. But that's been more recent than anything. Cargill is still green and often looks lost. She can be impressive with her strength, but she's sloppy and needs other people to help her call matches. Well, that is absolutely true. Man, that Queen of the Ring tournament was a humdinger. Yes, it was. And women main event at WrestleMania after that. So I don't know what to tell you. People are continuously talking about the Queen's Crown tournament. That's her opinion, but she is not wrong about them not getting enough time. But I don't know about some of them not being as good as WWE women. I mean, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, and Serena Deeb speak for themselves. Plus, Marina Shafir is booked like how Shayna should have. Keyword, booked. She doesn't perform. It doesn't matter how you book somebody. It's about whether they perform to the level that the fans can buy into. She gets no fan reaction whatsoever. Nobody cares about Marina Shafir. And before she entered a feud with Jade Cargill, she had not been on TV. And then when she did get on TV, she had 1 match. And then she won that match. Didn't look very impressive doing it. And then lost the second match she was in. I don't know. And she lost clean, just like everybody else. So I don't know what's going on, man. This is sad. 3 hours of TV versus 7 hours of TV. But you also have dark and dark elevation. You have opportunities to build female stars. You have opportunity to build female stars, man. I get it that, you know, you say that WWE gives the women more time. They give them less in-ring time. They give them more promo and character stuff. I see Dana Brooke on TV more than Thunder Rosa. I see Dana Brooke on TV more than Ruby Soho, Toni Storm, and anybody else that they've booked or signed in AEW within the last 6 months. It's kind of ridiculous. He says, I don't get the whole WWE women get more time when women in WWE have matches. It's like 4 or 5 minutes. The most you can say that have 2, 3 matches, all you want is 5 to 8 minutes. What the is this Steiner math? And even less minute matches. Really how good their division is versus AEW, who usually get 15 to 13 minutes. I don't understand. You have to, that was confusing. Okay. I think I tried to figure it out and says that AEW gives their women 15 to 13 minutes. That's because there's only one women's match per show. There's one women's match per show. They get 15 minutes, but that's only between two people. If you add up all the promo time and everything that the women get, especially somebody like Charlotte, and it's all going to the females, I'm pretty sure WWE gives their women more time. Because Charlotte will give a 10-minute promo. And then there'll probably be a tag team match or something like that underneath it for the other women on the show. And that's just kind of how it is. Jade Cargill main event at Rampage this week in a pretty good match. Oh, that's a lie. Stop lying. Liar. Somebody call Kevin Owens and get that goddamn lie detector. We need it. This is ridiculous. She's not wrong. Outside of Britt, the women's division is kind of poor. They have potential. Tony, Rosa, Hayter, Statlander. I forgot about Chris Statlander. I forgot she was even there. And that's just that's one of the things that happens. A lot of people forgot Mercedes Martinez worked there too. And I counted her in the AEW. I wrote down a list of all the women who make me not want to change the channel. When it comes to AEW, I barely put Mercedes Martinez on there, and that equaled 5. 5. Sheeta, Baker, Thunder Rosa, Tony Storm, and Mercedes Martinez. That's it. Everybody else, I'm changing the fucking channel. I mean, it's just kind of how it is. And that's pushing it. You know, that if I was the average viewer, those would probably be the only 5 women in AEW I would care about. But now tell me when was the last time either one of them got a significant segment on the show. Let's see. A lot of people are agreeing with her. That is true. A lot of people are agreeing. That is, honest to goodness, the truth. He says, of course they don't get as much time. They have 3 hours of weekly television. WWE has 7 hours of weekly television. Literally nobody would get as much TV time as a WWE wrestler could potentially get. The key word there is potentially. Because a lot of people in WWE don't get a lot of time. Roman Reigns gets a lot of time, though. Be careful, guys. Lots of racist takes are going to start coming out about Japanese women's wrestlers, and people will think it's okay for some reason. What? I don't get that. What's the problem? Rebecca, where are Doudrop, Xia Li, and Shotzi located? Maybe at the same place Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander. I think they all hanging out in the same place. Just in different organizations. This is GOC. I'm not about to read her shit. Becky Lynch is a genius. She's about to revolutionize AEW's women's division without even being part of it. She knows it'll touch Tony Khan's ego into making him give women more opportunities to prove her wrong. That's a good point. You know, it might be the case, and she's making this comment before Dynamite. So I'm pretty sure she didn't time it like that way. I'm pretty sure it's not 4D chess where she figures that she will, you know, sprinkle some magic dust on it, but people will definitely be paying more attention now. You know, but it was going to be the same thing anyway. It's going to be some bloodbath, and they're going to claim this was a 6-month feud just because they had a bunch of matches and they attacked each other a couple of times. Oh God, it's a man. Girl, bye. People felt bad for her not getting a WWE title until 2019. Definitely overhyped superstar at most. Saucy. People are taking issue with the not as good comment, but it's not off base, truth be told. Leave the booking screen time stuff to the one side and assess the bell-to-bell output of AEW's women's division lately, and she's really not wrong. Mid-entertainment Becky ass kissing as usual. She got the first half right. There's an episode of The Simpsons where they brag about how their tire fire isn't as bad as Shelbyville's. I like that. At least our water isn't as poisoned as Cleveland. Yes. People are mad and really going to argue and be mad at this, like WWE's women's roster ain't eclipsing the hell out of AEW's women's roster. Says she's right, to be fair. Please don't give them more time, though, as they are routinely the worst part of the show. That is absolutely true, though. AEW's women's division is awful. It's awful. And it's because it's hard to get into the matches when you don't care about the characters and there is no character work. You have to build this stuff up, man. You have to put some effort into it. Oh, Jesus. God. Now, why do I see AEW stand attacking Becky? Which, she's 100% right. Like Jade is literally booked strong. Thunder Rosa Reigns has been ass and not booked well. And 90% of the women are stuck in catering on YouTube. Well, that's not exactly literate writing that I'm seeing here. You know, it's not college level English, but for fuck's sake. I mean, at least it's factually correct. I took this as Becky purposefully saying bad shit about AEW's women's division so Tony wakes up and puts some more effort into it. Yeah, maybe. But more than likely, somebody's going to script a Britt Baker promo where she's going to say how she's the best women's wrestler in the world, take some cheap shots about, ring time, and that's about it. And you think they're not going to script a Britt Baker promo in order to respond to this, you are absolutely wrong. Women's wrestling in America deserves more on all fronts. SmackDown had 0 this week, but they also had a long promo segment between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte as they sell a match that's going to be on pay-per-view to continue their feud. So, again, people need to stop acting like character stuff and promo work isn't just as important as the ring stuff. That's brain rot, thinking that it's not. It's absolute brain rot. And WWE is the best representation? Okay. Oh, I don't know. My 2 cents on this is that tribalism is a hell of a drug. Sure, give AEW women its flowers when they're due, but it doesn't change the fact that AEW's women's division is an afterthought to Tony Khan. Yes. Go on, talk shit about me. At least you ain't forget about me, AEW. Okay. She ain't lying, though. AEW has a strong women's division, but not enough TV time to develop them further. This is why I think it's a mistake for AEW to sign all these new talents. Some are necessary, but there isn't enough time for everyone. Yes, there is. There's more than enough time for everyone. You just have to be able to utilize your characters more efficiently. How about CM Punk doesn't work a 20-minute match this week? How about can we cut his match to 10 minutes? How about Bryan Danielson not wrestling job guys this week? And instead we direct that time towards building up somebody's character. I think that they're scared to do that because then the ratings might go down. It's like WWE doesn't give a fuck about that stuff. They'll sacrifice whatever they need to sacrifice in order to get characters over and get stories over. That's why they have the 24/7 title stuff on TV every week. That shit had a really great crowd reaction despite the fact that nobody cares about anybody involved. And half the situation is female. So that should tell you right there what's going on here. No shit. Y'all also got the head start to raid the American indies of women for years. Now, let's not act like the entire division is treated like the matter. Treat it like the matter and get time. But yes, y'all division is better. No, AEW has been raiding the women's independents. They literally have indie women on the roster every single week. There's different women from the indies on AEW. They just don't want to spend the money. Athena has been out there forever since she got cut from NXT. Taya Valkyrie has been out there since she got cut from NXT. NXT cut a lot of female talent and AEW didn't get them. They didn't go out there and pick them up. They have just dropped the ball on the women's, and I keep saying it. They have access to AAA. Why aren't you bringing any of the AAA women in? Why no Lady Shani, La Hydra? Why not bring any of those women in? Or whatever. It is what it is. You have the opportunity. Somebody posted a picture of Toni Storm with cream on her face. This is your representation? Well, that did more for Toni Storm than her sitting in AEW's catering for 4 fucking weeks. I think a lot of WWE's success in its women's division is related to the long periods of time where it's the only division in the company that's interesting. Because unlike the men's divisions, the women are not booked based on what a senile old man thought sold tickets in 1994. Is that, why has he got to be a senile old man? And how is he senile if everything he does works? This is ridiculous. One thing the Lopez household ain't going to do is bite their tongue. Somebody did say that they need to stop asking people in that household. Stop asking them questions. I told y'all, man, Becky and Seth, over the course of the pandemic, they wouldn't fuck themselves crazy. They didn't have so much sex And thumbs up to them. Not only did they create a baby, they just created a duo psychosis where her and Seth Rollins both came out of that motherfucking nuts. Like mad scientists with hair all over the place, eyes all bugged out. Like, hey, how can we piss off people today? Because that's all we seem to do is upset folks. Oh boy, here comes some more. Honestly, sis, it took you getting your nose broken for you to finally get over. Tell Nia Jax thank you. I'm pretty sure she did. You were on your way out of the Fed and your ass fired till you started your Stone Cold Light gimmick, miss. Never forget that. Except AEW's TBS title tournament were 3 times longer than the WWE's Women's Queen's Crown matches and produced the same amount of stars. 0. 0. Who cares? It's all about the production. What came out the other side? Agree with the top thing. Bottom is complete crap. I mean, you might want to, I don't understand with that. I'm so fed up with the WWE arrogance. Oh, seeing the meltdowns in this thread is, yes, it's great. It's fantastic. Give them time. I remember not so long ago when the Divas matches were terrible. What you mean? We heard that AEW was doing the most. Britt Baker, didn't she come out and say that you can't make everybody wrestle the same in a warehouse or something like that, as if AEW's women's division was the shit? And it turns out it is the shit. It's like goat shit. It's pretty weird. Says, y'all in your own feelings proves her point. And to be honest, a lot of you men don't follow or actually give a rat's ass about women's wrestling. Only surface level. So you can pick something and stick it to Vince. But y'all are not ready for that conversation. I can tell you I don't really care about women's wrestling. It's a nice addition to, I think when he started trying to make women's wrestling the focal point, that became a problem. You know, like, it attracts a certain kind of person. You know, it's a WNBA versus the NBA kind of thing. And that's just kind of how I see it. No matter how good the women are not as athletic as the men. Now, they can be as entertaining in terms of persona, character, stuff like that. There have been some very entertaining female wrestlers. I just don't think they should be the stars of the show. As you know, I haven't seen anyone, not one, that I feel like is the actual star of the show. I just don't see it. So it is what it is. And somebody said, I'm not so sure about that. And then posted a picture of Riho, as if Riho was like currently on TV or something. When was the last time Riho was on TV? I don't know when the last time I saw Riho. He says, I got nothing against AEW. I really don't. I think certain, quote, management there have skin thinner than tissue paper, but the company as a whole, I genuinely have no ill feelings towards. But their women's division is undeniably treated as an afterthought. I don't know why we needed such a long preamble. Let's see. Bianca Belair has been showcased more than Thunder Rosa. Both are champions in their division. Becky isn't wrong. TK only cares about signing major women, only for them to be forgotten about. He doesn't care about women's wrestling. I'm going to tell you, Bianca Belair has been showcased more than pretty much any woman outside of Charlotte, Ronda, Sasha, and Becky. That's just kind of how it is. And even when she didn't have the title, she still got promo time. She still was having matches. She was still winning. She still looked, she was looking good. They didn't drop the ball just because she didn't have the title, which is usually what they do with WWE. They only have time for really one title feud. But now there's so many fucking titles. I mean, shit. I'm actually surprised at how many people are agreeing. And I'm skipping a lot of the people who are agreeing. She says, she's right, of course, but the second thing is why the first thing is true. AEW is building a women's division, but it's been a slog. It's better now. Of course, having 5 hours of main TV show time and having to fill it helps WWE be better on this. Wow, I found a positive. It's like, no. No. That's not true. She's right. WWE got 5 women who already main evented WrestleMania. Bex, Charlotte, Ronda, Sasha, and Bianca. And between 37 and 38, Sasha, Bianca, and Becky put on probably the 2 best women's matches in the last 5 years. 2019, 2021 was all Becky, Bianca, Golden Role Models, and Asuka. Okay. So there's a lot of pops being thrown at AEW by WWE locker room. I'm sure they all independent thought and not the result of a corporate email to all staff saying, please add your name to this format AEW criticism and deliver it whenever possible. So do you think that somebody's telling them to say this when the guy asked her, or guy, girl, whatever, asked her that question? Oh, yes, WWE wants to talk about AEW. So they sent the interviewer a stack of questions about AEW and said, hey, pick one and ask Becky that question. It's like once they sit down to do these podcasts or whatever, everybody wants to talk about AEW. You know, it's just kind of how it is, man. You don't necessarily have to talk about AEW. I'm pretty sure she would have liked to not talk about AEW, but since you asked, she's going to give her opinion. AEW women's division clears them. She's right about them not being represented well. And I know she ain't talking when she's not even top 10 in terms of actual wrestling ability. Well, I can tell you who ain't top 10. All the best female wrestlers are in Japan. I'll just say that. All the best ones are in Japan. And nobody cares. So, there it is. So there you go. Oop, and she didn't lie. Their best, T-H-E-R-E, was Britt Baker. And that's saying a lot, I guess. Absolutely. I've always found the AEW women's division lacking. One match a night isn't enough. WWE had issues with women in the 90s and 2000s, but it's so much better now. At least AEW don't have them doing bra and panties matches. It might actually get more views if they did a bra and panties match. Mostly true, AEW has gotten better, but it's still nowhere near as good as WWE's women. I also believe Impact's knockout division is better than AEW. Impact knockout division, when it was good, it was better than everything. You know, now that Impact is borderline broke, and anytime they sign somebody, AEW either signs them or they fucking just up and leave because they're not getting paid. Or they're not getting paid enough. You know, now that TK is slinging that checkbook around, he's probably going to end up signing Deonna Purrazzo away from Impact in order to bring her to Ring of Honor. What the fuck do you expect her to say? Why would anybody be upset about this? Good question. Because, you know, there was only one answer to this question, to be quite honest. I would recommend the IWC that someone said the exact same thing, but y'all focused on a headline and chose to be foul to her and her family. Y'all know the AEW fans are panicking when they're pointing to that old-ass Queen of the Ring tournament. Since then, Sasha, Naomi, and Rhea and Liv brought the most interest in the tag division since 2020. Bianca and Becky had match of the year candidate at WrestleMania. NXT women get 5 segments. I didn't even mention NXT because I know NXT is basically a factory that, you know, is the reason why, you know, women's wrestling is viable in the United States right now anyway. But I don't want to mention NXT because I feel like NXT is kind of it's a cheat code for WWE. Because they have their own Japanese, like you got your Hikaru Shidas and your Rihos. It's like, well, yeah, WWE doesn't just have Asuka. They've got Sarai, they got Miko Satomura in NXT UK, they got Io Shirai. And I'm not even mentioning them. Like 3/4 of them I'm not even talking about because I'm not mentioning NXT. All right, so here's another one. I beg to differ. Like I watch AEW and they have more screen time and better matches that don't last 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And they are on another level. E.g., the last women's title matches were fire. In the same breath, WWE has great talent, less time in the ring, and mostly crappy storylines. I'll give them the crappy storylines part. WWE doesn't have the better division. They just wish they would highlight more of their division. Huh? I agree. Feel like this is the only place WWE got AEW beat. But WWE wastes all this truth on Ronda Rousey. Well, Ronda Rousey is the reason why you even have a women's revolution, really. Remember, they told the whole idea behind this thing was Vince wasn't trying to hear that give divas a chance shit. It wasn't until he saw that Ronda Rousey was a major crossover star that he was like, why don't we have our own Ronda Rousey? You know, like that was it. That was literally it. We wouldn't even have, you know, the Bella Twins, you give them a lot of credit because they did push for it and everything. Yes, Stephanie McMahon, yes. But Vince likes that proof of concept. You know, Ronda Rousey was proof of concept. Without Ronda Rousey's success, you don't have a women's revolution in WWE because they just keep saying women don't draw and then that's it. You know, that's just kind of how it is. It's not hard to book the division well in AEW's case. Book the top stars versus each other. Isolate the top women, Deeb, Sheeta, Storm, Jade, Baker, Hayter, and feud them with each other. Do a lot of 6-women tags involving the less experienced like Anna Jay, AQA, etc. And then how much are you going to pay to send people to the hospital? I mean, that's just kind of how it is. But when we are talking about some of this stuff, the way AEW books things also is very weird. and I didn't want to talk about this, but you know, it is what it is. They gave Jade her own title to prevent her from wrestling Britt Baker. Like, they were so desperate to have 2 women stars that they literally gave Jade her own belt so they wouldn't have to do that. It would have made a lot more sense for them to make a women's tag belt. That way it could have showcased more women. Literally could have showcased 4 women, you know, by having women's tag teams. Instead, they decided, okay, we're just going to make a secondary women's title so that we'll never have to have the Britt Baker Jade Cargill match, which is stupid. It's a stupid decision. As much as I want to agree with her, but look at AEW's women's division is doing. Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. The star building of Jade Cargill, Shida versus Deeb. And WWE has to dig down deep after releasing a majority of their talent only to get Ronda Rousey and so on. See, the star building of Jade Cargill, they're not doing a very good job. You know, ultimately she has to actually open up and talk and do stuff. And right now, Jade Cargill, all she talks about is, that bitch show, I'm that bitch. I smell like money. I look like money. And I think her newest one is some shit about the baddie section. That's pretty much it. You know, that's her entire thing. And nobody cares about Shida versus Deeb. It's been going on for a long time, but nobody cares. Mainly because Tony Khan doesn't give a shit about the women's division. Which is why they also botched it during Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker steel cage match. Oof. Oof. Oh, boy. Listen, I have my criticisms about AEW's women's division. However, it does not mean that those women are any less talented than WWE's women's division. I might need to reread the whole article and quote, but this doesn't surprise me if this was the message intended. She said they're not as good as they are. That was pretty clear. It's in ways about representation. She is right. AEW still needs to step up their women's division. What I don't like is how this is going to do nothing but make the fan base more rabid, which in the end, no one wins. Well, that's only if Tony Khan digs his heels in and doesn't take the criticism seriously, which we know that he won't. Only 3 of them on the roster will get any time currently on WWE roster. The rest honestly stink. That's true. That's true. And I can still see WWE pushing Jade Cargill, at least protecting her. At least for a little while. Maybe not in NXT, but on the main roster, yeah, definitely. Let's see. They also didn't exist in time to raid the wrestling landscape of early 20s woman that had a shred of potential. Every early 20s woman that had a shred of potential. Okay, I see what you mean now. That's irrelevant, because they probably cut her. They cut so many women's talents. You know, they've cut a lot of them. And AEW has brought quite a few of them in, but they haven't signed any of the, you know, the ones that people were really upset about them getting fired. Like, people were really upset Taya Valkyrie got fired. They were really upset that Athena, aka Ember Moon, got fired. AEW didn't bring either one of them in. Why? You need women's, like, veteran talent. Sure, they're injury prone, but for Christ's sake, they need more talent. What are you doing? This is silly. One WWE storyline right now is a woman who has lost the step to ever wrestle, literally changing the rules mid-match because she's a GM to win the match. The other feud is Ronda and Charlotte. I'm sorry. Yes. But Sonya Deville is a recurring character on the show. And she's on the show multiple times per show, telling the story and building her character. But that's not the only 2 storylines going on, though. You still have the Carmella and Zelina thing. You still have the Dana Brooke and Tamina thing in the 24/7 title picture. You have the women's tag team thing with Natalya and Shayna versus Naomi and Sasha. You have, you already said the Ronda Charlotte thing. And that's pretty much it. That's still more than you was willing to give people credit for. No matter if she's right or wrong, AEW has an opportunity to prove that they are on the same level. A lot of changes need to be made to the division, and this is a perfect vehicle to go in that direction. She says he was absolutely correct up until the kayfabe part. AEW doesn't give its women's division enough TV time. Factual comment from Becky Lynch. Shut up, Becky. You couldn't carry Nyla Rose's jockstrap. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. Vince is sure making his talent go on some embarrassing lengths. Jade is the only star in the women's locker room, and not really. She's still trying. Forbidden Door pay-per-view, AEW versus WWE, all women. Only way to solve this. Speaking of Forbidden Door, remember how the women were so disappointed they didn't get to do the Forbidden Door stuff? Deonna Purrazzo was vocal about, hey, when are we going to do some women's Forbidden Door stuff? And then AEW was kind of like, and like all of a sudden the Forbidden Door was closed. It was closed, and they didn't do anything with the women. She says after SmackDown didn't have a women's match, regardless of the timing, the top 5 women in AEW and the top 5 women in WWE are absolutely on the same level. This is a lie. This is a lie. Oh, here comes somebody with some data. In the month of April, Raw and SmackDown had 51 minutes of women's wrestling with 20 hours of TV. Dynamite and Rampage had about 48 minutes of women's wrestling with 10 hours of TV. Dynamite and Rampage haven't aired yet this week too. Last SmackDown didn't even have a women's match. Data, bro. I counted the matches in the ring, bro. I counted the segments, bro. Nobody came out of the little star, so nobody cares, bro. I don't know how many times I gotta say that. I hope that out of the pettiness TK starts booking, or someone else book the AEW women's division in an actual good way. That could be the best thing that could actually happen. The only interesting one is Jade Gargoyle, and even she sucks. Oh, goodness. Jade Gargoyle. She does have some hard features. Says the mayor of Botch City. Well, she is a botcher. Almost all these women are botchers. What the hell are you talking about? No women's division comes anywhere near the big dubs. 4 horsewomen. Asuka, Bianca, Rhea, Bliss. I forgot about Bliss. She's not on TV. 8 roster carrying superstars right there, and I'm still leaving out names that are just booked poorly. Naomi, Liv, Baszler, Doudrop. Yo, what a division. That's not bad. I'm trying to leave out some of the ones that's agreeing, but a lot of the people who are disagreeing are merely just saying Queen's Crown tournament. Look at how many people are in the ring and how much time they get. It says, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, Becky Lynch has made it on Wrestle Cringe's account. If Wrestle Cringe thinks that this is cringe, he must not know that much about anything. But then again, that account is full of horseshit. She's right. I tried watching AEW as a whole, and it was like watching a bad version of NXT. NXT is actually levels ahead of AEW, if we're being honest. I'm going to give this a heart, because that is true. So I can't say that I totally disagree with her, but the last line, I think it kind of undermines the quality and the hard work of the likes of Jade, Rosa, Baker, Hayter, etc. That's a huge room for improvement, yes, but these women are no joke. Why the hell is Jamie Hayter continuously being mentioned? She's not over. She's not over. Who cares about Jamie Hayter, really? Like, we gotta just stop. Come on, man. We just gotta stop this shit. Enough. Until she get over it. I don't care. Becky's not wrong as far as representation goes. As far as them not being as good, iffy as hell. All right. The only perennial complaint that I agree with is how TV matches the women at AEW get. There's enough there to match or outdo WWE, but one could be forgiven for not knowing that. It's perplexing. This guy looks like a woman with a beard. So that's a shame. Also, y'all naming AEW women, and we haven't seen most of them in months. That is absolutely true. That's true. God, it's so true. A lot of them haven't been on TV in forever. Let's see. AEW don't let their women speak for more than 5 minutes. Regardless of booking, a lot of the women aren't shown on the same level as their male counterparts. That is true. They don't let women cut long promos. And if they do, they let Britt Baker cut long promos. And she gets to cut down everybody, and everybody else will stand there and look stupid. That's literally rock problems. They say, anyone who disagrees with you with this, I'm afraid to tell you that these are valid criticisms. I do think that the Owen Cup will help with a lot of these issues. A lot of work still needs to be done where it needs to be. Well, no, because AEW keeps having women's tournaments. It's not the first women's tournament they've ever had. They've continuously had women's tournaments and they never produce any fucking stars. They don't produce anything but matches. You know, you need to produce stars so people can then say, hey, this person is a big star. She draws ratings. She draws money. You know, obviously, clearly, she's a big deal. When the only thing you could talk about is how much time somebody spent running the ropes or in a chin lock. Nobody gives a fuck. You know, nobody cares about that shit, man. It's sad. It says, well, I guess we know what Tony's going to be tweeting about on Friday. I tried to wait. I was going to wait until Tony Khan or somebody in AEW said something silly. But I figure if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. See, so NXT is the future of WWE. All right, so it seems the future is just a glorified Divas era. Stop it, LOL. Quality over quantity. While I have criticism for the AEW booking, I find it laughable to say the WWE has a better roster. I don't know why everybody keeps talking about the Divas era. That seems to be having a weird conversation there that people are having by themselves, I guess. I say, Mid Baker wouldn't be a top 15 talent in WWE. She'd be an enhancement talent at best. And she was. But that's when she was really, really young. This one's in Spanish. I can't read it. Tony should respond by having Shida, Serena main event with a 20-minute match. Thank you, Becky, if this happens. It wouldn't make a difference. It wouldn't make a bit of difference because neither one of them will come out of this match bigger stars than when they went in. That's the thing. The point is to elevate people. The only way for you to do that is is persona. That's what gets people to cross over. It has to be persona. Persona first. Match supports persona. That's what it's about. The match has to support the persona. The reason Stone Cold Steve Austin got over is because the matches buttressed the persona. What he was saying to people, he went out and did. And when he didn't quit, he didn't give up in the sharpshooter, that solidified that character as being a guy, as a tough son of a bitch who means what he says, and you'll have to damn near kill him to beat him. So people were like, I believe that guy. I believe him. If he was, you know, that's how you get over. You solidify your character through your actions in the ring. When The Miz snatches the WWE title and runs away, and everybody's like, this is the worst thing ever. This is so stupid, yada, yada, yada. It's The Miz buttressing his character through his actions. The Miz is not a fighter. He doesn't care about being a great champion. He just wants to be the champion. So if you think he's a bad champion, he doesn't give a shit. All that matters is he still has the belt. You know, his ego is about the belt, not about your perception of him with the belt. That's the one thing WWE does very, very well, is they make sure that the matches, in most cases, carry the story and carry the characters. Because that's really what people are looking at, and that's what they're looking for. The rest of this shit is irrelevant. I'm beginning to run out of juice here. I've been doing more talking and less reading on this one. This one might be a swing and a miss when it comes to, I dare AEW to prove her wrong. This one got a lot of likes. So let's see what's going on here. Going to be hard to do considering the bits of bad booking. Julia Hart getting offense on Chris Statlander. Emi Takura getting jobbed out every time out. Serena Deeb and Shida not being on pay-per-view. Nyla always getting title shots. Serena Fear getting jobs. Best talent, worst booking. Julia Hart has star potential, so I disagree with the first one. Julia Hart has star potential? Based on what? Her ability to wear a skirt and an eye patch? I don't know what the fuck are these people talking about. She literally just appears on TV. I don't know, man. Somebody posted Deeb versus Shida Philly Street fight, and the response was, it's been over a month since Shida came back. She had one match 3 weeks ago that Deeb was in no way involved in, and now this. The match is going to rule, but that commitment to storyline is garbage. That's absolutely true. She says, I'd be impressed if we got all the women on Dynamite show. Jay Baker, Rosa, Deeb, Riho, Shida. Find 6 opponents for them, and they should be able to set and maybe pop a rating. It says maybe, well, she's right, but it took WWE about 50 years to respect women's wrestling and present a quality product. So AEW still has a few decades to come into form. And somebody says this isn't the 60s, back when women were viewed as eye candy. None of that is true. Literally none of this is true. The grasp on history. It's like, I know a lot of people are young and they get their wrestling knowledge from like dirt sheet writers with an agenda. But all you gotta do is watch WrestleMania 1. There's women's matches on WrestleMania 1. There's a women's championship until 1989. And WWE was I think, probably, maybe not the first thing, maybe AWA had one first. They had a legit women's division. As far as a national wrestling promotion, WWE always had a women's division. And then they discontinued the title when Rockin' Robin, I think that was 1990. And then it came back in 92, 93 with Alundra Blaze, and then they had that whole thing. And then Vince started losing a ton of fucking money because the company wasn't getting over. And they ended up killing the division. Alundra Blaze jumped ship. Then we got the Attitude Era, which brought Sable and all that kind of shit. And then once they started drawing money, the financial incentive was bra and panties matches and Sable and stuff like that. So they were just following the incentive at that point. And that's all they're doing now. If they can feel that they can make more money doing stuff, in the ring, then they'll do stuff in the ring. I'm pretty sure some of these women have drawn money to the degree that makes them important enough to stay on TV. But that's about it. They're just following the financial incentive. It says AEW is prioritizing Jay's undefeated streak, still getting that she's still improving, but many fans can't even say she had a great match or her look and her kid is important. Diminishes the women's division when pro wrestlers job out to a less inexperienced one. I don't know. It says, so that's how she ended the main event of the biggest show of the year. No one's perfect, but maybe we don't talk about others when this happens. And this is a picture of Ronda Rousey's shoulders not being on the mat. I think that's more of a Ronda Rousey problem than anything. It says, so having 2 matches that are both 5 or 6 minutes each is better than one match that's 14 minutes that showcases the woman having a great match on Rampage and Dark and Dynamite. So because WWE has 2, that makes it better. But yet the matches are short as fuck and are showcased terribly. Well, that's the same amount of ring time. That's if 2 matches are 5 or 6 minutes apiece, that's 12 minutes. If you have one match that's 14 minutes, you got over 2 women or, in 2 matches or 1 woman in 1 match. Which one is better? To get over 2 women in one night or get over 1 woman in 1 night? Come on, man. You created that situation and I already outsmarted you on it. The Queen's Crown Tournament. Oh, God. How many fucking times do I have to overlook the goddamn Queen's Crown Tournament? She just gave the women's locker room some juicy quotes for bulletin board material going forward. Bulletin boards, and maybe that's a problem. You got a bulletin board in your locker room. This is crazy. She ain't wrong though. We know that. We know that. It says, does AEW get 40 years, a Divas era, a women's revolution, and to have 20 years of monopoly to sign up all the best female talent, then 7 hours of weekly TV? If the answer is yes to all of the above, then we can have that debate. For now, I will take my 3 hours a week, 2 matches, developing green and very young talent, my 4 or 5 top stars that are still themselves developing, and still somehow more women on TV per hour metrics than WWE. Ask Becky about that Queens of the Ring total ring time. This is such delusional horseshit. You don't need all of that stuff. There's women's only wrestling promotions being started by fucking, what's her name? Maria Bennett. Maria Kanellis. For Christ's sake, you don't need all this shit. Impact had a great women's division without having any of that stuff. People just liked the women's division because they wanted to see the women. For Christ's sake. That's all it really needs to is people want to see the women. That's all it has to be. If nobody wants to see your women, it's because your women suck or they're boring. Stop making your women be boring. Let them be entertaining. Let them cut promos. Let them be funny. Let them do stuff. Let them do skits and shit. Like, I don't get it. See, isn't the average women's match in AEW the time equivalent 4 or 5 matches from WWE? Maybe, but part of what's going on is, again, quality over quantity. Who cares how long the matches were when nobody cares about the people who are in it? And nobody cares about who won or who lost or what happened afterwards. It just doesn't matter. Pete's just going to bring up the Queen's Crown where WWE slept at the wheel from months ago just to give Zelina a queen gimmick. Never mind that directly after, even though they should have during the tourney, they built up like 3 women's feuds on each show at the same time. Zelina is still carrying that crown too, by the way. So that means that what she's doing actually mattered because it changed her character and gave her a persona and something to work with. And it actually led to her having a title run. Now, if she wasn't painfully small, she might be in a better situation right now than she would be. And everybody keeps talking about the length of the matches. Let's see, didn't Becky Lynch steal Riho's back bend out of shape? Didn't Becky Lynch steal Riho's back bend out of the pin escape? Becky couldn't lace Riho's boots, and that's a shoot. She is barely athletic enough to pull off that move. AEW has the better women's division, but Tony Khan doesn't have 3-hour Raws to pack with more content. No, he just has 20 minutes to get to CM Punk. Maybe don't do that. How about that? How about we don't have Kyle O'Reilly, who is, the same amount of a draw as a punch to the face, wrestling long matches on TV? How about not? How about not doing that? How about not doing that? All right, man. It's Charlie Sheen calling out people for not having unprotected sex. What? More Queen's Crown tournament. This was boring. I'm sorry. This sucked, y'all. It was tears, but it was a lot of salt mostly. This one was not a very good episode of Smart Tears. But we'll get them next time. Still, like, share, and subscribe, y'all. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.